And good morning, everyone. Today on Perspectives, we talk with leaders of an organization whose activist beginnings go back to the early 1900s. The vision of its founders to ensure a society in which all individuals have equal rights without discrimination based on race. The NAACP, or the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, their date of establishment was in 1909. It is America's oldest and largest civil rights organization. The NAACP is also an advocacy group leading the fight to disrupt inequality, dismantle racism, and accelerate change in key areas. Now, those areas include today criminal justice, healthcare, education, climate, and the economy. Now, based on its history and track record, the NAACP proudly claims when it comes to civil rights and social justice, they have the ability, the unique ability, in fact, to secure more wins than anyone else. Well, you may be familiar with some of the organization's recent challenges, issuing an advisory for traveling in Florida, following several legislative rulings set forth by Governor Ron DeSantis. Speaking out on the stalling of upper-level military appointments by Alabama Senator Tommy Tupperville. Members of the Mobile County chapter playing a crucial role in the lawsuit Allen versus Milligan, challenging voting redistricting in the state of Alabama. And the Mobile NAACP hosting annual Wear Orange Day to promote action to end gun violence. Our guest this morning on Perspectives, Robert Clopton, president of the Mobile chapter of the NAACP, and Dr. J.T. Everhart, executive director of the Mobile NAACP chapter. After a quick break this morning, we'll talk with our guests, Robert Clopton and Dr. J.T. Everhart, about the NAACP and the Mobile chapter's community involvement, what the organization is doing on a state and national level. Perspectives continues in just a moment. And welcome back to Perspectives. Today, our very special guest representing the Mobile chapter of the NAACP, President Robert Clopton. He is here this morning. He's going to turn you into a musician, Reverend, and a Reverend as well at the same time. Yeah. We're going to talk to, as mentioned, President Robert Clopton and Dr. J.T. Everhart. He is the executive director. And since we talked last, you are now involved with the state level as the state executive director. Congratulations on that. And of course, we appreciate your service at the same time.
Thank you.
This morning, we're going to talk about some of the things that are taking place right now that the NAACP is involved in, both in the state and the county, as well as an upcoming conference being hosted by your chapter here in Mobile as well. So thank you for being a part of the conversation this morning. Well, let's talk about as we look at the NAACP for those who may not be familiar that you are still out here on the, actually you're on the front line, making some of the challenges and representing the people as it relates to some of the issues that are affecting the community this day. Let's talk about some of those as we look at one of the ones that just happened here in the last day, where challenging the military appointments to, I guess we can say, Alabama Senator Tommy Tupperville. He's been stalling things out for a while, and the organization, the NAACP, has been speaking out, especially since he is an Alabama senator. You had several things that came forth out of the state challenging his actions. Let's talk about that briefly, especially with you, Dr. Everhart, being a military veteran of more than 30 years of service. How did that make you feel with this action that was taking place by one senator holding and addressing these appointments?
Well, first, I would like to say thank you for having us here. I think it was an injustice to the people of the United States of America. Senator Tommy Tupperville said he was standing up for Alabamians, but Alabama is not the entire United States. His actions were critical. They were somewhat demeaning to the people who have spent their entire last 30 years, possibly, 25, etc., serving our country, protecting our freedom. And for him to insist or convey his own personal perspectives or opinion that devastated so many families, the military, and then again, it also put the country at risk. I mean, we have too many threats right now coming from too many enemies to not be ready and alert at all times.
Yeah, to make sure those people are there. And you would know firsthand how that would affect you if you were in the process of going to another assignment.
Right.
And especially if you've got kids who need to be in school, and it's not a simple process.
Definitely. No, Eric, again, thank you as well for the invitation. You know, Senator Tupperville and his supporters do not understand that his action by blockading promotions totally eroded the readiness of the United States military writ large. We're not just talking about blacks or whites or Republicans and Democrats. It affects his very constituents that voted for him. So it's very disrespectful. You know, his actions were very disrespectful. It defiled our military and our action. And I can only imagine what other countries thought about and looked at as they saw that, you know, we had top generals ready to assume their duties and responsibilities so they continue with the forward progression of our United States military to make us efficient and effective on the forward edge of the battle area.
And we're still waiting on a Marine Commandant to be appointed.
Most definitely. The first time in 160-some years. It's never happened.
When you look at his actions based on his concern about the military providing travel and some other accommodations for those who may be getting abortions,
Right.
Was it at the scale of where that one individual should be able to stop that?
Well, I don't feel that one individual should be able to stop that. I have a personal opinion. I have a viewpoint, but yet I have a job to do, and my job is to do what is in the best interest of my constituents, from looking at it from his perspective. And that was not, as Dr. Avard said, in the best interest of anyone to stall those promotions. It wasn't in the interest, except for his own personal interest, all right, to do anything of that nature. And it's sad that personal politics sometimes divides us as individuals. Now, you got to understand, and please be so aware of the fact that we are nonpartisan. We are out to do the right thing at the right time and for the right reasons. We stand for everyone. But when you hurt everyone, yes, we will speak out. We will protest. We will let you know that we are dissatisfied with your decisions. And we were dissatisfied with Senator Tupperville.
And hopefully we're on our way now to resolving some of that. Redistricting, that's another issue in the state of Alabama as we're looking at what the Supreme Court told legislators to do, and of course in their first addressing of it, it was not done, so now we're back into that legal process again. Where does the NAACP stand on getting this done in the way that the original Supreme Court ruling came down?
Well, we stand on the side of right. There are no ands, ifs, and buts about it. And the question would be, why not? Why are we at this juncture? Alabama, why are you not following the ruling of the Supreme Court? Why would you dictate the voting power of a people? Case in point, the ruling is for an African American, a second African American congressional district. What that really gives us as African Americans is an opportunity to choose who we want to have an effect. It's not necessarily a black candidate, but a candidate. We haven't had the opportunity through redistricting or illegal redistricting or gerrymandering or stacking, packing, cracking the African American communities. We do not have an opinion. Our vote is almost nil. So therefore, it's very important that Alabama gets on board and follow the ruling of the Supreme Court.
What kind of time frame are we now waiting on as it's now being resent and presented to the Supreme Court? What kind of time frame are we looking at now? Will it be in time for the next election?
Well, I think so. I think we're looking at having the ruling come in on the 25th to the courts, and then by the 5th of October, it goes back to the Supreme Court. And so we're hoping at that time, and we totally concur with the master being appointed to redraw the lines and to draw the lines that's equitable to all.
And based on what the Supreme Court
Right.
had made a judgment on. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Let's talk quickly. We've got about a minute and a half left here in this first segment about the travel advisory to Florida. We're next door neighbors to the state, and of course, a lot of us go over to that state. Where are we on that?
Well, the advisory is still in effect until Governor Ron DeSantis changed his mind on some of the critical race theory decisions that he's making, and we feel his decisions are predicated on that. I don't know. It's almost impossible to explain the decisions he's making, trying to eradicate or erase Black history. I mean, Black history is real. Black history is American history, so it baffles us that he would take the stance that he's taken. It's suppressive, regressive. I mean, I don't even have words to understand his, to explain his actions at this time, but we will not accept them.
Dr. Abrahart, I think you were about to add to that.
Well, I'll just totally agree with what our national organization has stated, the stance that President Johnson has stated, and how the branches throughout the state are looking to enforce across the country. And so as we look at the citizens from Alabama going over to help with the economy in Florida, we know anytime we leave Alabama, we go into Florida, we have been boost their economy. Period. We just want our citizens to be safe. As we look at the news daily, we see the things that are going on nationally and how they affect a people.
We're going to hold on that point.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll talk more this morning. Our very special guest, President Robert Clopton of the Mobile NAACP, and the State Executive Director for the NAACP, Dr. J.T. Abrahart. Perspectives continues in just a moment. Welcome back this morning. We're talking to the representatives of the Mobile NAACP, along with our State Executive Director, Dr. J.T. Abrahart, and of course our President, Robert Clopton, this morning. Some of the different things that the organization is addressing today, as well as preparing to tell you more about an upcoming state convention being held in Mobile. Let's talk about, as we continue, some of the issues. One of the things that concerns a lot of people in this area that you've also been on the forefront of, you're Wear Orange today as we look to address to end gun violence in the area. How did the organization get involved in taking a stand on that?
How did we get involved? A young lady, first name was Dahlia, last name Pendleton, was instrumental in the second inauguration of former President Barack Obama. 2 weeks after her presentation with his inauguration, she was murdered. 15 years of age. Her friends started the movement. She was that popular. They loved her. And they chose orange because it was her favorite color. They chose the first week of June because her birthday is June 4th. And we admired their persistence. We admired their bravery. We admired how they stood up to make a difference in remembrance of her. Therefore, we wanted to do something. We always want to. When it comes down to gun violence, it's an epidemic within all communities right now. Over 30,000 youth, unfortunately, about 30,000 African Americans being shot each year. Others, we don't want anyone, regardless of creed, color, religion, etc. But that was a great opportunity to join with that youth group, and it just ballooned and blossomed from there. Even here in Mobile, we're very, very fortunate. We're blessed, I guess, with the people that get involved. The entire city supports this Stop the Gun Violence project, Wear Orange. And not only that, we have other opportunities to affect gun violence, and we're going to have one of those present a brand new approach that we have next week here in Mobile.
Very good.
You want to elaborate on that, Dr. Abrahart?
We're definitely going to focus on wearing orange and the gun violence, especially the gun violence that's not only taking place in the city of Mobile, but across the state. So we're going to partner with the Boys and Girls Club of Southwest Alabama and some other youth group, the Omega Lamplighters. We're going to bring these youth groups out, and we're going to just simply have a conversation and talk about this. Gun violence, especially as I looked at the news this morning, it's really affecting the city.
Almost every day.
Every day. And, there are parents and families, mothers who are hurting because of gun violence. And so we want to see what we can do to eradicate that.
Have you all seen an example of what may be working in other places around the country that the NAACP is involved with, so we can implement that kind of plan to reach the young people so they understand what's going on here?
Eric, we have a new approach that we're going to use. It was designed by Dr. Kimberly Holmes, the professor at Alabama A&M. We wanted to initiate it here in Mobile. We are utilizing college students and some adults to visit schools and have skits on engagement and disengagement opportunities. So the skits would, put children in a particular situation and see how they would handle it. What decisions would they make?
Like conflict resolution?
That is it.
Yeah,
And
we've heard that. That needs to be in the mix somewhere. That's
And
right.
so therefore, that is a program that Dr. Holmes has developed. We will introduce it here in Mobile during our conference. We wanted to do it a week before, but due to the scheduling within the schools that we surveyed, we wasn't able to do that. But I think it will make a difference. I know it will make a difference. I mean, if you change one, you could change the world.
So you're going to try to elicit support throughout the community to come to support the young people going to the schools, or how exactly can we help?
Oh, actually, right now it's starting as far as the pilot programs to meet with the students, to have the college students to put on the presentations, to get the students from the school involved in the presentation as well, to let them make decisions. A, the situations are incorrect. B, come back another group and see how they would handle this particular situation.
We look forward to hearing more about that. And you brought it up, speaking of what's taking place here in Mobile. You're actually hosting the state convention, which is that a pretty big deal that you are the representation hosting that here in Mobile?
Well, we feel it is.
Okay.
Throw us kudos. We are the reigning branch of the year for
Awesome.
the Alabama State Conference of the NAACP. And
Congratulations on that.
We're grateful to have the opportunity to bring our state conference, our state leaders, and our national leaders, some of our national leaders here next week for our annual convention.
So what should we look for? Now, you just mentioned about the wearing orange will be a part of the dialogue and programs. What should we be looking for hearing coming out of this?
Right. Go ahead, Mr. Clapton.
Well, I will tell you this. We will have a press conference next Thursday at 10 o'clock in the Marriott, where we will definitely introduce and disclose what we're going to do. Some of the things we want to surprise, because of the fact that we want to keep that a surprise, because we want the engagement to be positive. We want it to be great. And we want to hold on to it for a minute, Eric.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Well, I'll let you go on that one there.
Eric, I know that President Clapton, he's been very humble. There are 43 branches throughout the state of Alabama.
Okay.
And Mobile, we pride ourselves on being the flagship. He's not going to say it, but I will. And I'm proud to be a part of the Mobile chapter, as well as being the executive director for the state. In saying that, we are thoroughly engaged and have immersed ourselves in incidents across the state, and even some that spill outside the state of Alabama, because we have to. We are obligated to. We have an inherent obligation to confront these issues up close and personal, meet them where it's at. I want to go back to the orange, wearing orange. We have a lot of young youth that are involved in this, but if you look at the great spectrum around the city, some of the individuals that should be engaged with our programs and the educational pieces of it, they're not in the room. So that means we have to get out there and we have to walk the streets.
Right.
And we have to look for them and we have to talk to them. And we have to take it to them. And in hopes that there's something positive that we can say that will make a change and afford them the opportunity to make, for a split second, to make another decision instead of put on a gun or not to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, how that happens, that's life, I understand.
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do. We've got about a minute left, and so they can go to the website to find out which parts of the conference are open to the general public? If people who are watching right now that are not members would like to be a part of things that you're doing?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You would have to know some of the main things that are open to the public, or religious affairs luncheon. The workers and laborers breakfast and roundtable is open to the public. The WIN, All Women in NAACP, that is huge in itself. They will have a roundtable dialogue, but they will have a luncheon as well.
That's good.
And we also have a youth endeavor. Youth luncheon, yes, it is open to the public. And we will also introduce that new Stop the Gun Violence engagement program during that time.
Excellent. Well, gentlemen, we thank you both for being a part of this conversation this morning and sharing an update on the organization, both from a local and state level here today. We really appreciate that. We're going to show the information of how to contact the organization for more information. Mobile, there we go, NAACP, both the .org for the website, phone number to call, as well as the Gmail address as well. Please take advantage of the information available with the upcoming state conference if you can be a part of that, especially if we're dealing with that anti-gun violence initiative. That is so critical to not just our community, but as you mentioned, the state and the nation. All right. Well, once again, we thank you all for joining us, and we thank you for being a part of the conversation this morning as well. We've got more information about where we're available during this period of time on our social media platforms. We'll see you back here next Saturday morning for a brand new episode of Perspectives. I'm Eric Reynolds. Have a great week ahead.